Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, the leader of the so-called right-wing Liberal Party, that's supposed to be the centre-right classical Liberal Conservative Party of Australia, is selling out to the World Health Organization treaty. We've been talking a lot about Canada and New Zealand, where the governments and the system that they have are more centralized. And Australia, until quite recently, we allowed the federal government, the central government, to say, well, most of your decisions are being made on a local level when it comes to lockdown. So Scott Morrison, fine. You're not being a complete dictator, complete sellout. Yet, despite that, we had the Australian police going crazy against protesters, against movements. And now, this. Watch this. I'm going to ask you one question at the end of this video.
The World Health Organization meets on May 22, and on the agenda is a potential pandemic treaty which would allow WHO to direct countries in how they control pandemics. Would you consider signing up to that and handing over any controls to the organisation?
I have always been supportive right from the outset and was criticised heavily, I stress, heavily, mocked in fact by the Labor Party for saying the WHO should have those powers. And
yeah, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. Ages ago, before, you're talking about ages ago. Fine, maybe you were naive. You have heard, since 2020, the flaws, the corruption, the mistakes of WHO, the modelling and everything else, and in the pocket of CCP and listening to everything that Wuhan Labs tell them to do. You seriously still say, and proudly, that you're still in favour of giving them more money and more power to create a global governance, a body, to tell all countries and democratic societies what to do.
And those authorities to be able to go and deal with pandemic situations, because we all know what happened at the start of this pandemic. The problem is we don't know what happened at the start of this pandemic.
I wonder if that was a mistake. You literally said, we all know what happened, and we don't know what happened.
Out of this pandemic, and I was the one calling to ensure that we had an independent process to understand what happened so it couldn't be repeated. So I have been in the vanguard of those moves internationally to ensure that there is greater protection for world health, to ensure that those World Health authorities can come and understand what...
Yeah, because until now they've done such a great job. Such a great job. This is the problem. Just wait for the next one.
Now we'll look at the text of all of that, but we have been amongst the countries that have been positive about these sorts of changes. Have to look closely at what the detail is in these things, as you always must. But the idea that countries can just say, no, you can't come in and have a look at a pandemic that's about to break out and actually affect the public health and the economy of the entire world.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there, because it goes back to my main question for you guys. Because on the one hand, he says, I'm a passionate supporter of the organization and this new project. I haven't even seen the details, but I like the idea of an international treaty. And then he also says, well, of course, we're going to look at the text and make sure that, it's a feasible idea. You do realize you've already crossed the line by being openly biased and saying that, well, I'm already a supporter, I'm already an ally. So are you seriously going to say no? Are you seriously going to look at the text and say, actually, I've changed my mind now. I no longer support WHO's treaty? Doesn't happen that way. That's why I'm going to ask you to your kind of opinion on how do you think right now our cultures, the Anglosphere especially, Britain, Canada, America, Australia and New Zealand, and of course now we also have to bring in our neighbours, France and Germany, the sound people, the ordinary, the left behind the anti-establishment side. How would you propose the idea to fight back against this ultra-globalism? Because if you do it the wrong way, then you will be shut down. This is the age of censorship. If you know the best way to do, not create complacency, because I've lost complete faith. If you don't have the Tory party being conservative anymore, if you can't have a right-wing Liberal party in Australia not being right-wing anymore, then are we losing hope? Because no, I don't think we should lose faith. I think there is hope. And I think there should be definitely a movement that we could maybe start together. So let me know if you have any ideas. And this might just be a theoretical question. Technically a hypothetical question, but I might already have the answer for you guys. I just want to get your opinion on this. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Maya TC and we are the media.